How you
There
doing?
we go. How are we doing, boy?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good.
I'm
So,
glad we decided to do this. This is
yes, this
awesome.
was this was a great idea. So, for those of you watching, we are starting a new podcast slash show. We don't really know what this is going to become, but
Yeah, no, it's I think it was a great thought. We started texting each other and we said, let's do some, I was watching First Take on ESPN and thought, let's try and do something like this. So,
yeah,
here
it's
we
not a
go.
bad not a bad idea. So this is what this is mostly going to do is supplement like our rebroadcasts because like we can only rebroadcast so much stuff because we don't have like
Mhm.
a crap load of stuff in our database. Whoops, shouldn't have said that on live TV. But we don't have that. We don't have
Uh,
enough to last us potentially past May 1st. So I mean, this is going to help supplement it.
you got to compromise where you can.
You got that right.
So, just to start, I think covering, Chicago sports is a big thing, but what we're also going to do is take one or two topics that were discussed during First Take today with Stephen A. and Max Kellerman on ESPN, and we're going to debate if we disagree or just discuss it if, we like the topic. But to start off, me and Danny been talking about it. It's the Nick Foles-Mitch Trubisky debate. It's pretty hot in Chicago right now. Last time Chicago had a quarterback, I mean, you can argue Jim McMahon.
Yeah,
Some even loyal fans may say Jay Cutler. I'm not one of the people that would say Jay Cutler.
I'm not either. I'm not either. You're not alone.
So
Jay,
yeah,
Jay was not. I have to agree. Jay had his bright spots, but he didn't have his great spots either. But
no, he had the talent, but yeah, energy wasn't there, and
it
his
just
skill
didn't
set wasn't the
click.
best.
It just didn't click. And then John Box came along, and it just, oh boy,
Now
things
the
just didn't
thing
end.
though was in John Fox's first year, the Bears were 6-10, and shockingly, that was one of Jay Cutler's best, you know,
Best
seasons of his
overall. Yeah,
career.
he had
Yeah.
one of his best overall seasons, but then it just, oop.
Yeah, I mean they were 6-10, and I got to tell you, watching that team, that 6-10 team, they probably could have done some damage, maybe a wild card appearance because you talk that was Robbie Gould's year where he was starting to kind of unfold with the Bears, eventually causing him to be released. But he lost a lot of with Robbie Gould missing the field goals. Obviously, the Bears ended 6-10, and if I remember, they either could have been 8-8 or 9-7. So that Bears team wasn't necessarily bad, but back to the focus. Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. Obviously, it is the hot topic in football right now for the Bears. So, Dan, what do you think is going to become of it?
See, this is what I'm most interested to see. Trubisky has a bit of an edge because he's the incumbent to the position. Foles is
Mm-hmm.
coming in as a challenger, but it seems like they're going to be playing at equal levels. Trubisky's
Mm-hmm.
advantage over Foles right now is that he's able to run around a lot better. Now, granted,
Yes.
Foles is older, but
Mm-hmm.
he's also been able to hit his targets a lot better, deal with the pocket pressure, and just be able to execute his throws. I saw it a lot last year, especially second half, that Trubisky was having a lot of problems in the pocket and he had to ground it a lot. And it
Yes.
was becoming very problematic because you're not able to hit your receivers. And you have three very good receivers in Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, and Taylor Gabriel. And yeah,
Yeah,
granted,
Gabriel. Yeah. Yeah.
Gabriel not around obviously anymore, but
But you're adding Jimmy Graham. That's
yeah, now you're adding Jimmy Graham. We'll get to
you're
that.
giving
We'll
yourself
get to that in a
more
minute.
available targets.
You're giving
Yeah.
yourself more available targets, but for to not really to switch gears, but I'm gonna switch for like a second or two to
Yeah.
see what I want to. I'm interested to see what Graham can do considering his age. Yeah, he's able to make the big catches, but it's after the catch. What can he do after the catch is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm most interested to see about
Yes.
because with his age, is he going to be able to make the quick transition from the catch to be able to run the ball and be able to get past the defense and potential and get those
Mm-hmm.
big first downs. And you remember last year, and especially with the run game, David Montgomery did not turn out the way that they needed him to.
No.
And Tariq Cohen was, he was okay. He was okay at the run. He played all over the place, so you can't expect him to do like be strictly focusing on one position. But overall, like the offense last year was not the greatest. But this quarterback competition, this quarterback competition is probably going to define the offense. That and the offensive line. They got to fix the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the additions that the Bears have made. Obviously, as for throwing the tight ends, having the experience to throw to good like position players and stuff, that all plays a role. They both have had experience with Jordan Howard, but put that aside. You take the tight end experience. Nick Foles has had a way better background. He's had Zach Ertz as a tight end to work with. And no disrespect to Trey Burton, but that's not your go-to tight end.
When Trey Burton was with Philadelphia, he was more slotted as the number 2 because Ertz obviously had the advantage.
Oh yeah, well when you're Zach Ertz and you're over you're 6'5", 6'6", and you're in the upper half of weighing 200 pounds. I mean, you're the go-to tight end. So obviously, you look at the tight end experience, and in that case, you kind of favor towards having Nick Foles because he knows how to work with Zach Ertz and a young Jimmy Graham working with Drew Brees back in 2010, 11, 12, 13. You may be able to bring some of that back together with what Jimmy Graham has left. But as for wide receivers, you can make the argument that they both have had some decent experience with wide receivers. Yeah. I mean, like we said, Mitch Trubisky's been able to work with Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel,
Anthony Miller. He's had a very good 2 seasons, especially his rookie year. His rookie year was good.
Yes.
His 2019 he went on a little bit of a decline, but he still put up productive numbers.
Yeah. And then, you look at Philadelphia and what Nick Foles had to work with. I'm mainly going off what I saw in that wild card game. Obviously had Alshon Jeffrey. He was able to bring in Golden Tate for the second half of the season last year. I'm trying to remember who else. But they both have had some decent experience with that. And Nick Foles also was a quarterback for Kansas City in 2016. He played 4 games in 2016. So if I'm correct, they might have still had Tyreek Hill. So he's had some decent receiving experience, and he's also had good running backs to work with. He did get Jordan Howard last year. I'm still baffled why the Bears got rid of him, but that's okay. That's another topic. So he got to work with Jordan Howard. Obviously, he got to work with Kareem Hunt in Kansas City. And he was also a quarterback in 2015 for the Rams. So he might have gotten to work with Todd Gurley. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I would think so.
And I was reading the paper the other day, Rick Morrissey of the Sun-Times, and he says you got to go with Nick Foles. I mean, the numbers are there, the experience, Super Bowl MVP experience. You can't throw that out the window.
No, he's got
against Tom Brady.
See, my question is that, but you look at the overall stat lines, they're pretty even. They're about league average quarterbacks. Yeah,
yes.
But what is Foles going to be? He lost his job to Gardner Minshew. He lost his job to a rookie. Is he going to be?
Injury. Yeah,
it's the injury. Is that injury going to potentially play a role, especially in this competition in the preseason?
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to potentially play a role in the decision making and how he performs?
Yeah, and I think if you're a Chicago fan, injuries better than anybody. Jay Cutler getting hurt every year, and God bless his soul, Derrick Rose. Everybody knows about the injuries in Chicago. And the thing with Mitch Trubisky is, and I think it's on his throwing arm. He's hurt his shoulder 2 consecutive years. One was on a slide, and they were both against the Vikings too. Sunday Night Football 2 years ago, I forgot who, Harrison Smith, I think, came low, hit him in the shoulder while he was sliding. He got injured. And last year, he did the same thing. He slid and he got hit. He's having the same reoccurring injury on the throwing shoulder, if I'm correct. It might be his left. I'm going to look it up right now. But still, you can't have that. Now, granted, Foles is coming off a significant injury, but we've seen guys bounce back from that. So I'll throw my pick out there. I say you give Nick Foles the week 1 start. I say you don't screw around to start off because we all saw the Bears and Packers game last year to open the season. Yeah. I don't want 2 years in a row of that. I want to see if Mitch Trubisky does play, I want to see him, going up against the Patriots, losing by 7, running 80 yards. If you remember that play, they were
Yep.
scrimmage at like the 20-yard line, ran like 20 yards back, came around. That's the Trubisky I want to see. Now,
It's
I
it's
also
the
want to see Super
Trubisky,
Bowl MVP Nick Foles.
right? If Trubisky's going to win the competition, he has to be able to now he's got to be able to show his athleticism, but he also has to show improvement with hitting his targets because he was not able to do that well with it last year. And then obviously the offensive line was a mess.
Yeah.
And losing Kyle Long is now
it's a
granted,
tough break.
It's
tough leadership with him too.
It's
leadership.
tough, but he hasn't played as much, but that leadership role is huge. And how are they? Is Foles going to be able to fill that, or is somebody else going to step up and do that? Who knows?
I think with Trubisky, and now I got the numbers right here. Trubisky had, let's see, in 2019, he had the most completions of his 3 seasons starting. He had 326. We can't really count that first half year because he lost out on 3 or 4 games due to Mike Glennon, who I don't know why they signed. But that was his best year. Now you look at the percentage, he threw about 67% in the 2018 year, the wild card year, and he had 3,223 yards. It's like you want to see those numbers, but the inconsistency. He threw a little under 100 yards less than, probably about 9. His completion percentage dropped 3%. Last year he had, with Trubisky, what I like to see is that with passing, his interceptions they did go down last year. He had 12 in 2018, 10 this year. But, the big thing with him is if he's going to be able to have the confidence. I think his heart's in the right place. I think he really wants to be the guy to bring glory back to Chicago. But is his mind in the right spot? Like, you got to think about it. He's a guy that cannot be in the pocket. You can't be. No. You got to have him, as weird it is to say, you got to have him throwing on the run. That's where he's his best. Get out of the pocket. Find some open receivers. Make them, move around a little bit, with their routes. Switch it up and get the ball off.
It seems like you almost have to have like a little bit of inconsistency to keep the defense on their toes, and especially because he's not a pocket passer.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be able to get out of that. And when I know we keep talking about the O-line, but if the O-line starts to crumble on a particular play, Trubisky, he kind of crumbles too. Like he's not able to do anything. And as that arc starts to close in on him, he rushes everything, and he's not able to execute.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's where you put Foles in the question, because we're talking about the issues with the line. Now, whether they fix it or not this year, I know they made a couple acquisitions, and you got to also remember that James Daniels is going to develop. Cody Whitehair, was pretty solid. It's Charles Leno that I got a problem with.
And Rashad Coward.
Yeah, and I don't know off the top of my head the 1 or 2 guys they brought in, but then you also talk about with Nick Foles, his main thing is being a pocket passer, and that's up in the air if you're the Bears, because the line is not totally solid, if that makes sense.
Okay, so this is what ESPN's targeting for their starters. So they have Bobby Massey at right tackle. Jermaine Ifedi is new.
Okay.
Whitehair at center. James Daniels at left guard. Charles Leno at left tackle. And then behind Leno is Alex Bars. Behind Whitehair.
Kid from Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yep. Behind Whitehair and Ifedi, you can play both Corey Levin. Dino Boyd at right tackle. And then also at center, Sam Mustipher. So
kid out of Notre Dame too, yeah.
Yep. So they have some other options. I like the loss of Bobby Massey last year. It definitely hurt a little bit.
Oh, you're lagging.
And then throwing Coward into there, being a converted. I think he was a D-line. He was a D-line guy. If I remember that, he was a D-line guy. Switching over to O-line. I mean, that's a tough switch, especially for a guy that's developed himself as a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
I mean, he did decent filling in last year. I can't argue with what he did, and especially in the situation he got thrown into. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to work for them.
Yeah.
To keep him there, and especially without like some kind of conditioning on him. If I'm using the right word there.
So, yeah, no, I totally get you. So right now, I mean, it's not pick your poison with the quarterbacks. It's the situation. So Nick Foles, pocket passer, the line sucks, and the receiver's got to be able to get out and move around fast enough. That's your issue with Foles. Trubisky, well, that's all I got to say. So, but you know what? I say you give, and this is going to be my pick. I'll let you make yours in a sec. I say you go Nick Foles. I say you start week 1 with Nick Foles. I say you give it a shot, get some edge on Trubisky, give him a reason to go to practice, kick some butt, and get himself, back to the 2018 Trubisky. That's the one we want to see. The one that threw the 7 touchdowns in one game against the Bucs. The one that popped off against the Lions. The one that won the division for the Bears. That's the one we want to see. So I say you give Nick Foles the start, and then until Trubisky can prove himself, and the only way he's going to prove himself is if, he makes a huge difference. They're not going to put him out there when he's given 50%. They want to see 110% from him. Otherwise, he's not starting. I'm going my pick for week 1 until Trubisky proves. I'm going Foles.
I have to go Foles too, only because Trubisky crumbles when the O-line crumbles. Nick Foles doesn't. And I have to agree with you. Foles should get the week 1 start to be able to motivate Trubisky. Like he hasn't necessarily had to face competition before. Yeah. Foles has been, if I want to put this lightly, he's been a lifelong journeyman. Like he's been all over the place. He knows what it's like to have to compete to win a job. Yeah. I do think that he's going to win the job, and it's going to show Trubisky like, wow, I lost at something in my life. Like he does. I don't necessarily know his mindset, but he has to understand that he's not always going to win this. And if he loses, which I think he will, is that, like you said, it's going to give him that motivation to want to make himself better. And until he can prove himself, he's going to be number 2. And I don't think he's going to move from there if he doesn't show improvement or Foles shows that he's the bona fide number 1.
Yeah. And just a quick fact about Nick Foles. He first started for Philadelphia when Michael Vick was getting hurt back in 2012. And Nick Foles eventually ended up replacing Michael Vick because Michael Vick, I think, went to the Jets, and then he became a backup there to Geno Smith. I don't know how that happened. But so Michael Vick's injuries caused – and you know what? Regardless whether Michael Vick was injured or not, it is not easy to come in and replace him. That is not easy to do. Matt Ryan did it for Atlanta. Man, it worked well. But that's not easy to do, especially if you're Nick Foles. And Nick Foles' highest win season was 2013, the full year he got after Foles or after Vick. He had his best record, 8-2, and he had 203 completions. His best for that year, he almost threw 3,000 yards that year. So Nick Foles knows what the competition's like, and he's not going to let a guy like Trubisky take it over. So therefore, he's going to compete at a high level, forcing the Trubisky to compete at a very high level.
Yeah, it's going to make for some interesting competition.
Oh yeah.
But see, here's what I'm most interested to see. Okay, I'll make my last point right here. So, how much is preseason going to weigh into? How are they going to be able to equal the snaps? Because you also have to think about this. Your opponents, whoever they play, are not going to play their first team defense against whoever's at quarterback all the time. They're not going to. It's not going to be like your typical game. And I don't necessarily. And I know that I think it was the first preseason game last year. I think it was against Carolina. Yeah. And Rivera iced Elliott Fry just to put him on edge. But is Matt Nagy going to be trying to communicate with the other coaches to help them out at all, or is they going to take their initiative themselves?
Hmm.
They have to find like a good balance between like first team defenses and the rest.
Hmm.
Like that's what I'm most interested to see. And we
Yeah.
obviously know Trubisky's is going to get the first series in their first preseason game. That's already been established, but it's more towards down the line afterwards.
Yeah. And just a quick look at the Bears' opponents. Obviously, they play each team from the NFC North twice. And in my honesty, especially with the Vikings losing out on who they lost out on, especially on defense, there's not a team in the NFC North that even scares me, not even the Packers, especially if they can figure this out. So I think the big thing is I think they're gonna win the division. But you also understand they're playing the AFC South. I mean the NFC South. So what does that mean? Foles versus Brady, a matchup he's seen before. That's a great matchup to have. And Trubisky did a great job against Brady last year. Don't get me wrong, but the Foles-Brady matchup is pretty good. You're also playing the AFC South, not a team there that scares me either. You know, the Texans, especially losing on DeAndre Hopkins, my favorite NFL player by far.
The Texans are a dumpster fire right now. Bill
Yeah,
O'Brien Bill O'Brien is sending them to the sewers. I'm gonna
hmm
I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. They are sending them to the sewers. And the AFC South is that for the Texans. I mean, it's their division to win, and because I don't think
yeah.
I can't remember what other teams are in the South, but but that's besides the point.
Saints. Oh,
No,
yeah. Colts,
AFC South.
Jags, Titans. Oh, Colts, Jags, Titans, and Houston.
Colts, Jags, Titans, and Texans.
The only one that scares me is Tennessee because of Derrick Henry.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
And the
But
Bears are one of the best at
for
stopping the run. So
yeah, for the Texans though, I mean, it's just them in Tennessee. Like I can't necessarily see Indianapolis potentially trying to compete with them, and then Jacksonville's. I don't even know where they're at right now. But
Gardner Minshew.
well, yeah, yeah. But I mean, it almost seems like Bill's trying to make them like not even competitive and trying to give the division to Tennessee. But
Yeah.
they're losing their credibility, and especially Bill O'Brien's going down as one of the worst GMs in NFL history by trading away one of the best receivers in the NFL to Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray's got something to look forward to.
Yep.
So, folks, that wraps up our NFL discussion. We both pick Foles, but in the end, the Bears are still up in the air for everything. So, the next topic for all you Bulls fans out there, it's finally happened.
It's
It's a dream
happening.
come true, and we all never thought it would happen because they're in love with Gar Pax, but clearly not anymore. So, Gar Forman, I mean, when they find their GM, he's getting the boot.
Gar
But
Forman's going to get he's going to get the boot as soon as someone steps in.
oh, for sure. Um, and then you have Paxton, who's willing to step down to a lower role if he has to, which I'm totally fine with that. I say you put him in a position where it's still kind of high, but you can't do anything with it if that makes any sense. So you gotta mention they were doing, when they drafted Derrick Rose and they brought in the 2010-11 team that lost to LeBron in 5 games, but still that was a fantastic team, 62-20. I mean, they showed with that team, they showed that you don't necessarily have to be like the Warriors that were last year with Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Iguodala. I could go down the line. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals with the best record in the NBA. They swept the Miami Heat that year, 3-0 in the regular season, with the starting lineup of the MVP Derrick Rose, at shooting guard Keith Bogans. He's a good guy that, they can hit a few threes here and there. He's a good defensive guy. Luol Deng at small forward. Derrick Rose helped him become an all-star for the first time in his career. Carlos Boozer, a great offseason pickup from the Utah Jazz at power forward. And the most loved guy in Chicago, Joakim Noah at center. Their juice. And their bench was full. They had Ronnie Brewer, C.J. Watson, Kurt Thomas, Kyle Korver. And you also have to understand that Boozer and Noah were hurt a good chunk of that year. Each of them missed half of the season. And the fact that they pulled off 62 wins with that team, that's insane. So you look at like the good things they did, bringing in those guys and developing that lineup, but it all kind of started going down when D-Rose started to stop getting hurt. As weird it is to say that. The year where they lost to the Cavs, D-Rose hit the crazy buzzer beater. I think it was the 14-15 season. It all kind of started going down there because then the Bulls the next year, they were projected to be very good with Pau Gasol, Joakim Noah, a grown Jimmy Butler. D-Rose is still pretty good, and I think their small forward was Mike Dunleavy at that point. Jimmy Butler got hurt, Derrick Rose got hurt, everyone got hurt, and they missed the playoffs. So what is their solution? Trade Derrick Rose to the Knicks, and you got Jaren Grant and Robin Lopez for him, and Jose Calderon. Not great. And Joakim Noah was part of that trade. Pau Gasol went to the Spurs, and that might have been a free agent signing, if I'm correct. And Butler, we all know what happened. And Dunleavy went elsewhere. And Butler, I mean, we all know about the Levine trade and the marketing trade. Now, the Levine thing's working out, but you could have stuck those guys together for another year. Maybe you couldn't have, but
Yeah.
they have screwed up this franchise. They've made so many bad moves. I mean, I get Markkanen was kind of the draft pick, your best draft choice at that time at number 7, but they haven't been bringing in any crazy draft picks. I mean, Denzel Valentine has been getting hurt. That's kind of a bust. I mean, what's your take on it?
I mean, you put it as good as anyone that I've heard it from. I mean,
Yeah.
You're right. Foreman and Paxson have been sending this franchise down the toilet. They haven't been anywhere near relevancy in years. The only reason that they got attention this year is because the All-Star game was on the city. And that's
Yeah.
it. And now they're getting attention because they have an open job. And they want someone else to run the team. That's it. But they like you said, they haven't been like I just said, they haven't been in relevancy in years. The last time they were in relevancy was when Dwayne Wade took them to the playoffs and they were up 2-0 on the Celtics.
That's another thing, yeah. And they had a pretty solid team there. I mean, even though the guys were getting old, Dwayne Wade still produced. Danny, I think they would have won the series. I don't know if you remember, in Game 2, Rajon Rondo, I think, fractured part of his hand, and he was out.
Yeah, and he was out. He was out for a couple of games.
Celtics won 4 games in a row. I argue that the Bulls pull off the 8-seed upset. I think they do. Their bench
if Rondo
was playing
doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, if Rondo doesn't get hurt. Because, I remember that was my freshman year, and I remember thinking, it's Rondo. But then you think about it. He's not your typical scorer. He can put up numbers, but he's your assist man, versatile. Your playmaker. Yes.
He's very versatile. He makes the all plays. Over. He can. It almost seems like he can literally do almost anything on the court. And you can say that about a lot of guys, but Rondo he's like on his own. He's like in his own category with what he can do. And the first 2 games of that series really proved it, and it put him on a national stage.
Yeah, and you also have to remember with that Celtics team, their starting lineup was Al Horford. I think it was Amir Johnson as well. Gerald Green was coming off the bench, and they're starting in Jay Crowder. And then their starting guards were Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley. Avery Bradley's a really good 3-point shooter, and that was the year Isaiah Thomas was hot.
Yeah,
Isaiah Thomas was
very well
he was very exciting to watch in those playoffs. So, the Bulls had a shot, but they've just been going down since. They have not been bringing in anybody. Last summer, Kevin Durant going to the Nets, Kyrie going to the Nets, Kawhi going to the Clippers, even Anthony Davis going to the Lakers, Paul George going to the Clippers. That last offseason was so good. There were so many chances to pick up so many guys. It didn't have to be an Anthony Davis. It could have been, someone just at the average level. Pick up anybody. Like, look what the Bucks have been doing. Their big name, obviously, is Giannis, but they've been picking up guys like the 2010-11 Bulls did. They've been picking up guys that aren't going to be necessarily like your big Warriors lineup. They've been picking up guys that can back them up, and they all mesh well together. And they've missed out on so many opportunities to do that, and that's why their job, it's not on the line anymore. It's gone.
Well, yeah, like you've been saying, but no one's wanted to go and play in Chicago because they know that the franchise is just going to get screwed over again, and they're not going to have a chance to compete for an NBA title. They're not going to
Yeah.
be able to play deep. They're not going to be able to play into the summer
Hmm.
because they're not because the front office, they're not bringing anyone good in, and they haven't had that reputation for having anyone good on the
And
team since that Celtics series. They've just
yeah.
been consistently going down, 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 and it hasn't been attracting free agents to want to go play there.
Yeah. Now I think what you do, I mean, yeah, Zach LaVine, you got to keep him.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of arguments with guys about it. Some are like, keep Lowry, build around Lowry. Some build around Zach. I mean, you gotta go around Zach. I mean, he was your All Star caliber guy this year that somehow didn't get elected.
I still
He's your
can't
go to
believe
guy.
that.
Yeah. I mean, Lowry, it's like he's got to prove it next year. I think next year's the year Lowry has to prove it or you release him. Or whenever you can release him or whenever you can trade him, you got to do it. Although, now you got to remember, I was watching a Bulls game, and the only guy from the starting lineup I did not see wearing a shirt and tie on the sideline was Zach LaVine. Wendell Carter was getting hurt. Markkanen was getting hurt. Otto Porter was getting hurt. And Chris Dunn, or Thomas Satoransky was their starting point guard. He wasn't getting hurt too much. But I think you start looking at Kobe White for the future. You got to start getting ready for
Oh
that.
yeah,
Him
definitely.
and Zach at the guards. That's great.
You
3-point
have to start
guys.
building around both of
I
them.
say I say you keep Wendell Carter. I think he's a really good defensive guy. He is your big. He improved a lot this year with his
Yeah, I
rebounding.
noticed that a
His
lot.
shooting got better. Um, where it is see if Lowry's good next year. But where you got to start making some moves is you got to get a small forward. Maybe not necessarily a scorer. You need a defender. You need a defender or a playmaker. Maybe someone that'll, I don't know, get you like 12 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, a couple blocks, something like that. Nothing out of this world. Nothing that's impossible to do in this days and age in the NBA. But you got to get a small forward.
Yeah, and it's
You got
there's
to go with
and
that.
I think like you have to start scouring the market as soon as you get that new president of basketball operations into place. You have to start looking like
Yep.
right now to start figuring out what path you want to go on. Because right now it almost seems like despite the place that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
they have directions that they can go to. But it's going to depend on who gets in. And it's the Adam Simon not coming, Bobby Webster, not coming. Chad Buchanan, not coming. Those are, I mean, it almost seems like you're down to Justin
Jerry
Zanuck and
West.
Art and Arturas
Wherever he
Sarasota.
goes, they win. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, you saw what he did with the Warriors. And
and
then
now look at the
he goes
Warriors.
to the Lakers.
And now look at the Lakers. But
It's there. And with the Bull here, when you think of basketball, the top 4 teams with the most titles, you got. I think it's Boston's got
I will look that.
16. Boston's got 16. Lakers got 17. Warriors and Bulls have 6. Those are your 4 places you just want to play. And you know what? The Bulls are going to start ending up like New York. When you think New York, you think big lights. You think the Yankees, where they are right now. The Mets are starting to get back up there.
They're
It's a
trying.
yeah, they're trying. It's a prime time place to get your career going. Whether it's sports or music on Broadway, or it could be anything. New York is the place to get your career going. And you know what? Look at the Knicks. It's not going anywhere. You got to get. I mean,
They're turning into a dumpster fire too.
you missed out on Kevin Durant. You should have signed Kevin Durant, but they didn't.
Yeah, Adam Sandler wanted Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, and God knows what's going.
I watched too much SNL. Leave me alone.
God knows what's going through Spike Lee's head right now. I mean, you're talking about a Knicks team that's gone from like Starks and Ewing and that Bull. Like even watching the Bulls, like when the year after Rose won the MVP, aka the year it tanked when he tore his ACL. Watching the Jeremy Lin and the D Rose duo go up against each other, that was so much fun to watch. Like that was the prime time Sunday afternoon game you had to watch on ABC. I'm telling you. Mike Breen, Stan Van Gundy, and Mark Jackson. God, I'd love to work with their crew one day. But they were calling those games, and it was so much fun to watch. And look at it now. Neither team can get a spot on ESPN. Those 2 teams were the Boston And it's your classic big cities. Boston, New York, Lakers, even when the Lakers were bad, they still had Kobe getting so many views. Boston, LA, Lakers, Chicago, and Boston. They were your primetime games in like 2010, 2011, 2012. That was the teams you wanted to watch. And now, well, one of them is very much fun to watch. The other, Boston's pretty good. The other two, they ain't making a spot on ESPN for a long time. And, the team starts to go when that front office starts to go. It goes in that direction. So you're hoping.
They just have to figure out what's going on.
And for all the Bulls fans out there, you got to understand, this isn't going to be like that. It's not like you're getting Jerry West bringing in all those guys. No, this is going to take.
It's going to be like, I know I'm drawing a baseball comparison, but it's going to be a Theo Epstein type of thing, where it's going to take years of pain and anguish. I almost think that for whoever's going to take this job, they almost have to go off of the Epstein blueprint, tear it all down. You have to rebuild the young group. And I know like NBA does not have as deep of like a minor league system as MLB does, but you can still build a stockpile in it's the G League, right? I don't follow basketball that much. G League, yeah. I don't follow basketball that much. But yeah, build a stockpile in the G League, get them to be performing well, and then bring that to the NBA. But you have to be able to tear it all down, and I hate saying this, but it almost seems like you have to tank to get your draft picks. Like, I know they've got.
It's not fun, but
right, but it almost seems like you have to, for the Bulls right now, you have to keep playing bad, and I hate saying that because no one wants to see that. But
here's the thing: they don't have to try to play bad. They're just playing basketball, and they're tanking. Like, the thing, if I'm going to make another comparison, you made your baseball, I'm going to compare it to the whole Ryan Pace thing. Granted, they haven't hit the milestone yet like Theo Epstein did with the Cubs, but, you got to start somewhere. And I think they got him in 14 or 15, and it was just a slow process, but it worked. And it really showed, the summer going into the 18 season. And you knew he meant business when he picked up Khalil Mack. So
it's, I think, Khalil Mack for the Bears, Lester for the Cubs. Oh, Lester and Madden for the Cubs. And then the Rick Hahn's crazy experiment, whatever, 2014, 2015. Picking up all those guys, but obviously that didn't turn out very well. But whoever takes this job, it's going to take a little bit of time to rebuild it. But once you make that big splash, like, people are going to start taking you seriously.
It's like the Sox. I mean, they're starting to make their case that they're going to be the better team in Chicago this year, if baseball happens, hopefully. But
that in a minute,
we will get to that. But it takes time, and the Sox, you got to give them credit. It didn't come right away, and there were people that were saying, "Oh, they're never going to get out of this." But it's a slow process. It's Philadelphia. It hasn't happened yet, but it's trust the process. It's so slow. It's so slow, but it works.
It's slow and it's painful.
But it's going to pay off. And for White Sox fans, you're in for a treat. Not just for this year or next year or year after that, but it's going to be a long-lasting treat, and you got to hope the Bulls find that soon. So, 15 years till the Bulls win the title? God. Oh, I don't know how I've made it this far.
All right. So, I think we're going to transition to our next one.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to roll with this one because I'm the one that's got all this crazy knowledge on it. So
you're obsessed with it.
Yeah, you can see by what I'm sitting in front of. So yeah, the baseball stuff with everything that's going on. So recently, last night, Jeff Passan reported that potentially everyone was going to go to Arizona, play there for who knows how long, and then MLB today sent out a statement saying, this is not what's going to happen. This is an idea that we have.
Yeah.
But let's be real about this. You have 10 spring training parks plus Chase Field. That's all within about 50 miles. But there's a couple of reasons why they're choosing Arizona in the first place. One, all of the spring training camps and Chase Field are within 50 miles. The farthest two it's Surprise and I think Peoria that are the farthest two away. But then you go to like Florida, where there's more camps. they're spread out all over the state, and it's mostly on the coastlines where they're at, and then up in the Panhandle, there's a lot
Yeah.
of them. But and then
Hmm.
obviously, I know we're trying not to talk about COVID on here, but like the cases in Florida are a lot higher than they are in Arizona. So it makes sense to go to
Yeah.
Arizona if you want to
And
do
plus, I
this.
mean, yeah, you have the stretch of using Petco Park in San Diego and maybe the couple LA stadiums. That's a stretch. But
That's a major stretch,
realistically,
yeah.
I mean, that's worst case scenario. But yeah, you talk about it. 10 parks plus Chase, that's 11. You got 30 teams. Unless you plan on doing, 3 games in each stadium pretty much a day. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about, because usually with baseball, the series averages 3 to 4 games, and usually at least one, if not two, of the games, or maybe all three, will be at night or at day. Yeah, always switch it up. And you know, unless you have like one team play, maybe you do a series where it's like, these two teams, they're going to play at noon on Monday, and on Tuesday they're going to play at 3:45, and then on Wednesday they'll play at 7. You know, that's
So
what
yeah,
might
but
happen.
I almost think like if this is something that MLB is really thinking about doing, use the backfields. Use the fields where minor league spring training camp is held. Like I know nobody goes to them. You can only get about 50 people to go out and watch them,
Yeah.
but they're already thinking about having no fans anyway in the spring stadiums. You might as well use the backfield if no one's going to be there in attendance. All you need are the teams, the umpires, the coaches, and the television crew. And it's not that hard to get cameras up for a minor league stadium. I mean, you really only use 2 cameras at a minor league stadium anyway. I know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm the crazy baseball fanatic here, so I've watched minor league games in the past on my TV, and you really only have 2 camera shots,
Yeah.
home plate and then center field. That's it. That's really
It's
all
not
you need
hard.
if you want to make those games visible. And most of them have lights for those backfields because sometimes they'll play at night as well. But you also have to think about where they all going to stay. Now, obviously, the Arizona teams, half of them have typically they have their residences. They have other residences in Arizona, or they're provided houses by their teams. But what about those Florida teams? Like, where are they going to go? But it seems like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can put them all in one hotel, but what about the hotel workers? Like, it almost seems like they would have to wear masks and gloves, and they wouldn't really be able to come into contact with the players. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a yeah, it's a tough situation, and I was listening to the score earlier today. Like this MLB seems like the most ideal sport to come back. Like I know UFC allegedly is coming back in like 2 weeks. I don't know how they're
Yeah.
doing that. The private island
No.
stuff. Oh my god. But it makes like I get it that they want to get back the soonest. The NFL, ooh, I have a hard time saying this, but I kind of agree that they might have somewhat of a normal season. Like
Yeah.
I kind of like half of me thinks like they'll be fine in September. Preseason, yeah, they might be playing in empty stadiums. So what? But
Mm-hmm.
September, October, November, December playoffs, like they might be playing in like smaller capacity or full capacity stadiums, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is viable. And then NBA, NHL, I mean, I don't really know what to figure out for that, but
No. Yeah.
I almost think like, and I've heard other people say this, baseball might be the healing for the country and for the economy, just like it was after 9/11 and World War II. Like they might do
Yeah.
this exact same thing might happen
Mm-hmm.
again. But you
Yeah.
also have to think about the logistics of this. Like you're going to have to but you're going to have to wait until you can readily test the players to make sure that they're not contracting COVID because I mean you saw what happened with the NBA once they found
Yeah.
out Rudy had it, they started testing everyone. I mean, like I think like four Nets that caught it, including KD,
Yeah.
and
Lakers guys.
couple Lakers guys got it, and
Uh-huh.
oh god, I can't remember.
Boston guys had
Boss
it. Marcus Smart.
Marcus
Yeah.
Smart had it. I mean, once they find one person that gets it, it's going to be just like Japan. They're going to shut the whole thing down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that if they're going to attempt any kind of comeback, you have to play in empty stadiums right now until the CDC says it's fine. But if they're able to get going, still playing empty stadiums, TV's going to get its money. And especially if
Yeah.
no other sports leagues come back except for MLB, national
They're going to make
coverage,
a ton of money off of that. Yeah.
national coverage is going to go up tremendously. Like Fox, ESPN, Turner might even jump in on it. TBS and TNT might pick up a couple games. MLB Network's going to pick it up. I'm almost interested to see if like they simulcast the games on ABC with ESPN, which they never do anymore. But I think they sometimes do it with Monday Night Football, if I'm right. But they might do that too. But right now, this is what it is for everyone right now. It's about keeping everyone safe. But it makes sense to try and get baseball back first. Longest season. You're considering playing into December. You have to get going at some point if you're going to salvage any kind of a season. And I still think Scott Forrest is crazy. He wants to play the World Series over the December holidays. I'm like, no, you're crazy, man. If you can finish the season, in my opinion, if you can finish the season at any point between mid-November and that first week of December, I almost think like I'm a happy camper at this point and start the 2021 season late. Because at this point, you have to salvage at some point. And the same thing goes for the NBA and the NHL. If you have to play in empty stadiums, so what? They're at the end of their seasons already anyway. I don't remember which league was which, but I think the NBA had like 8 or 9 games left. NHL had like 14 or 15. Or it was the other way around. I don't remember. But if you can I don't remember which one it was.
NHL I think had 9.
Okay. So if you're able to if you're the NBA and the NHL, I almost think like unless there's like a huge competition for like the final couple spots, like cut the rest of the regular season, get right into the playoffs, because it's not worth playing those last few regular season games and then just go right into the playoffs. Like I almost think just start with the playoffs, maybe do like a couple of like preseason games before you start the playoffs for those playoff teams, so they can get a little bit of game action after not playing for it'll be like 2 months. But at this point, you want to be able to crown your champion if you're the NBA and the NHL, because you've gone this far into your season. It's not worth trying to stop it and just call it a wash. You have to finish it at this point.
Yeah.
For MLB, they have to get started like as soon as they can.
Yeah, mid-May, early May. Yeah. Okay, Danny.
I mean, this is
so. As I said earlier, what?
I said that's my livelihood.
There we go. So as we talked about, we would take a topic from First Take that we thought was pretty good, and then we discuss it here. So the one I found interesting, and I told you about it, Danny. It's not who's the greatest basketball player of all time. It talks about Michael Jordan. Who is his greatest competitor of all time? I'll let you start, and then I'll go. Or do you want me to start?
I'll let you start because you watched it, and I want to see what you think about this.
Actually, I didn't. I was taking a civics test, so I had to shut it off. But Michael Jordan was drafted 1984. His first season was the 84-85 season, if I'm correct. And he didn't really break out until they played Boston in the playoffs in his third year, even though he dropped 63 points, a playoff high ever at that time in Game 2. They still got swept. So to start his career, because that's still when the Celtics are very, very strong, obviously throw Larry Bird out there. But then, we could talk about his title years. I mean, the first title series was against Magic Johnson and James Worthy, I think. And the Bulls took that series 4-1. So I don't know if you can really consider that a lot. The second year, the shrug year, if you know what I'm talking about, 1992, they played Portland Trailblazers with Clyde the Glide. Clyde Drexler, that was their main guy. I'm trying to figure out who was next. I can look it up. But they took that series in 6 games. Like, that wasn't bad. They were proving themselves that they were going to be mighty good. And, I'm trying to find who else played with Clyde Drexler on that team. That's the only guy I got right now. But they still, killed it that year. His third year, you go up against Charles Barkley and the Suns. They won that series. And Barkley did end up becoming the NBA's most valuable player, but still, I mean, not bad. And then I think kind of, I'm not going to say skip over the Supersonics, but in his first I'm back, in the NBA, he came back in the 94-95 season. They lost in the East Finals to the Knicks, obviously with Ewing and Starks. But again, Jordan wasn't fully Jordan. I think he needed some time to get into it. So his first NBA Finals back, part of the second three-peat, was the 95-96 team, the 72-win team that the Warriors broke the record. They played the Seattle Supersonics, and that, they won in 6 games, and Jordan was named Finals MVP 4 times. That was his 4th time. He was 4 for 4 with those awards, the best anyone's ever done. So that one you juggle up. A good one to talk about. The last 2 finals, the 97-98, they went up against the Utah Jazz. John Stockton and Karl Malone. You had the flu game in there. You had the famous last crossover shot, to win the 98 finals. You mainly think of the Jazz when you think of probably who contended most with Jordan in his really good stages from the 90s, pretty much. You like to throw Karl Malone out there, but you know what? It's losing that really motivates you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
For any team, when you lose and you lose and you lose, you finally have enough and you just break out. It's the bad boy Pistons. I believe, I'll get to the player in a second, but I believe it's the Pistons. The Bulls struggled in the late 80s getting past the Pistons, because the Pistons, that's when they were winning. They won the 89 finals, the 90 finals. I'm not sure about after that. But when you have someone consistently beating down on you, literally, that team was so violent. Isaiah Thomas and a really dirty player in, I'm trying to find the name. Oh, I can't right now. But I think it was Bill Lambier. They so dirty. They were winning the physical battle. And Dennis Rodman, not to mention Dennis Rodman, one of the biggest instigators in the game. I don't know if I could pick up a certain guy on that team, but if I did, I'd have to go Isaiah Thomas. Sometimes to really get you motivated, you got to get your butt beat, mentally and physically. And the Pistons did that to any team they faced, not just Jordan and Pippen. But when you piss Jordan and Pippen off, you saw what happened. 6 for 6. Yep. And you really look at it and you see what it did to Jordan. It made him mad. And then you go to the 1992 Dream Team, and I don't know, you might know this, but our viewers may not. It was told that the Dream Team, by the way, the Pistons were coached by Chuck Daly, the Dream Team's coach, so they had a fantastic coach too. So you look at, or Chuck Daly was talking about, and the other guys, I think Magic Johnson, it was in a documentary, they were talking about how we want Isaiah Thomas to be on the Dream Team, but Michael Jordan said, I'm not playing on the Dream Team if Isaiah Thomas is on the team. And Isaiah Thomas was, that hurt him, because he's like, yo, but the chemistry didn't work well. With Jordan and Pippen and Isaiah Thomas, it just doesn't. So it was like, it's either me or him. And obviously, who are you going to pick in that case, Danny? I want to hear your answer. Who are you going to pick?
I was not going to go with, you brought up something interesting with Magic Johnson. I was going to pick Magic Johnson for being MJ's biggest competitor. Here's why. Because I think that, and I think you brought this up earlier with the bright lights of New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Boston.
Yeah.
Bright lights guy in Magic Johnson, and he was bringing attention to Los Angeles. MJ was bringing attention to Chicago. I almost think, yes, it was a little bit about performance. This is in my opinion. Yes, it was about performance, but it was also about stealing the spotlight from the other guy. Now, I don't think they were. I don't necessarily know they were intentionally trying to do that, because I wasn't born in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
So I wasn't alive then. But I almost think, looking back on it, it was like Magic Johnson was trying to steal it away from Michael Jordan. Jordan was trying to steal it away from Johnson. And it was like a constant struggle. It was like a tug of war to see who would get each side. And I almost feel like that it was kind of an even split between the two. And Jordan went 6 for 6. Magic Johnson put up an amazing career for himself as well. And he's sitting pretty right now with all the money he made and the accolades and the attention he
Yeah.
got. Yeah, Jordan did too. But I almost feel like that Magic Johnson tried to continue to steal the spotlight from Michael Jordan because of how good Jordan was. And Johnson realized that he was on nearly the same stage as Jordan was. Now, yeah, he wasn't as good as Jordan was. Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. You can't beat
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. But
Nope.
Magic Johnson, I believe that he was Jordan's biggest competitor because they were always trying to steal the spotlight from the other guy.
Yeah.
And I think that they were able to consistently do that.
Yeah.
Jordan was able, yeah, I said it already. Jordan was able to steal away from Johnson. Johnson was able to steal it away from Jordan. It was that constant struggle, and I think that made each other better because it was trying to continue to steal that spotlight away, get more attention from the coverage of the media at the time, which it's not like it is today. They were able to do that quite well, and I still believe to like right now that they were able to do a great job with it. And I don't think that, maybe with the exception of LeBron James and someone else you want to throw out there, whoever wants to try and take down LeBron James for his king job is trying. I think that's the only pair, LeBron James and player B, with we'll figure that out later. But
Yeah.
compared to Johnson and Jordan, because I think that they were trying to steal the spotlight away from each other, and I think that LeBron James, always got the spotlight on him, and someone's trying to challenge him for that spotlight.
Yeah. But yeah, you make a good point. I don't know if you know this story. When they were doing the Dream Team, and they say it was the greatest basketball game never filmed, they did a scrimmage, and I forgot who was on each other's team. I know Magic and Jordan were not on the same team, but Jordan, he did like a move or something on Magic, and he's like, this is my show now or whatever. So that backs up your point. But I know we're getting a little debatey here, but I'm gonna have to stick, with I'm gonna watch First Take tonight and see what they said. But I gotta stick with Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons because, you talk about putting up these numbers that are just so incredible. In the 88-89 season, I got it right here, which is a year that the Pistons did win. Jordan was averaging 32 and a half a game. He shot 53%, 54-ish from the field. He was averaging 8 rebounds and 8 assists a game. And you just couldn't. However, the Pistons again defeated the Bulls in 6 games. I mean, they had a special method. I got it right here. It says by using their Jordan rules method of guarding Jordan, which consisted of double and triple teaming him every time he touched the ball. They figured out Jordan. So you got to give him credit for eventually getting out of that, if that makes sense. Now, I'm going to look it up right now, here it is again. So this is the 1991 season. They advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals where their rival, the Detroit Pistons, awaited them. However, this time the Bulls beat the Pistons in a 4-game sweep. That is when a team had a great impact on you, is when you're getting double and triple teamed every time you touch the ball for the past 2 years in the playoffs. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Bulls could have had 8 titles. I don't know. But you take that into account, and then they go and just sweep them like that? And then they go and take out that James Worthy Magic Johnson duo of the Lakers, and you take them out in 5 games? I get what you're saying with Magic Johnson, but if Isaiah Thomas and those Jordan rules of the Detroit Piston bad boys, if that didn't help Jordan, let alone Pippen, get better, I don't know. So you say Magic, I say Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons. So overall, we can agree anyone that tried to get in Jordan's way didn't go well. Unless he was on the Wizards,
No.
it didn't go well.
It almost seemed like for MJ that he was just But so we're gonna continue once Josh can get back on. We were on a conversation. If you were watching the,
We got it.
oh, there we go.
I don't know what happened.
So yeah,
we were talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about the battle of Michael Jordan's best competitor for a video cutout, and I'm gonna figure this out once we're done here. if there's a limit on how long we can be live for, and then we might
I think
fix
it's
some
an
stuff.
hour.
I think it's an hour. We'll fix that up. So if this happens again, if you're watching it right now, and this is all going to get edited out when I publish it
Hey,
on YouTube. When we publish it on
oh,
YouTube later, not all of it, but the cutout, we'll fix that. But if we cut out after an hour, like it's
well,
not
dude, there's like
totally our fault.
the audio's all goofy.
Oh,
Yeah,
are you good?
the audio's all goofy.
Let's just keep going. It'll fix itself.
Oh no.
It'll fix itself.
Yeah,
Okay, let's keep going.
yeah. Anyways,
All right, let's keep
so
going.
I think it's fixed. Anyways, I mean, let's keep rolling with this. You talk about that. Turns out it didn't. Yeah. So Jordan's greatest competitor. Yeah, I say you stick with the bad boy Pistons. When someone hey, hang up and then do it again.
Are we really gonna do this? You're
Yeah,
fine on you're fine on my end.
dude, I'm going back and forth. It's really weird.
Just try.
Oh, I'll try.
We can't do this again.
uh, yeah, we're fine.
We'll be okay.
Okay, let's keep going. So obviously, I say I got one more topic. So obviously, you talk about having successors. You talked about it. It kind of went from like Larry Bird to Magic Johnson to Michael Jordan. Obviously, he handed it to Kobe Bryant. And then I think following Kobe Bryant, you go to LeBron James. Now the question is, LeBron James is going to retire. It's kind of sad to think. LeBron's going to retire within the next 3 to 4 years. The main debate, obviously, if he's going to play with Bronny James eventually when he enters the draft. But who's the next successor?
I almost feel like that if you can stay healthy, KD, until he retires, and after that, I think it's up in the air because I almost feel like I would say Steph, but hasn't been doing how he should be. Right? Oh, yeah, he obviously hasn't had the season he had, so I can't pick him right now. But I almost feel like with the career Kevin Durant has had, he would be LeBron's his predecessor until Durant retires. Then I think, like I said, it's kind of up in the air who goes after him because I feel like you said, from Larry Bird to Magic Johnson, etc. Like it was a clear path of who the successor would be. I think that after LeBron, I feel like it's going to go to Kevin Durant. After Kevin Durant, I almost feel like it's up in the air and it's up for grabs. Like whoever wants to come grab it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be interesting. To continue to run off of your point, yeah, LeBron James is going to eventually retire. He has a huge legacy on him. How are those shoes going to end up being filled by the Lakers, or if he ends up leaving, which I highly doubt it? And does he want to play with Bronny?
NDCP enrollment just said Sales greater than Steph, Lesman greater than Durant, D'Amico better than LeBron. 100% agree. 100% agree.
Nice.
Whoever's on that right now, they got that right. But I'm also gonna throw this out there. You talk about your next successor for LeBron. Definitely Giannis. Definitely Giannis. You got to consider that. He's 21, 22, and the only thing that's kind of stood in the way of him getting past Toronto last year to go up against Golden State was Kawhi. So the problem with Durant, though,
Kawhi just had a spectacular year last year all around.
I'm not gonna hate on Kevin Durant with his injury. I'm not. I told you the other day, Dominique Wilkins is one of the only players in the history of the NBA to tear his Achilles and come back the same, if not better, than he was. So you keep that in mind. You want to have hope for Kevin Durant, but you can't expect it. The odds are so small. You can't base your argument about that.
Yeah. So, you can't. But I was almost thinking if he's able to come back, I almost feel like he's going to be able to reclaim his legacy. Like, he's been able to do some crazy things before. I don't think that this injury is going to set him back until,
Mm-hmm.
like, it does set him back. Like, in the immediate, once he gets back, I don't think it's going to have much of an impact. I think,
Yeah.
like, eventually it will. Frank Lynch over Kawhi, Burks over Dominique, Murph over Stockton. Accurate.
They can't
Accurate.
They can't say it better. They can't say it better.
Whoever's running that, I mean,
They're on top of their game.
they need to get a raise.
Oh, but who's Josh Lill greater than? Who's the best manager out there? I mean, I don't really know. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. But back to the argument, Giannis is definitely out there. I think you can have Kawhi in consideration, depending on how he, moves forward with his career, injuries or not. Sorry, my audio keeps going back and forth. It's really weird. So Kawhi is definitely a conversation. Giannis, but we got to start talking. Rookies. Ja Morant, maybe not so much because we're also talking like in order. We're not. It happens every 10 years ish. For a decade. Like Kawhi or like Kobe owned the 2000s. LeBron owned this decade. For this one, I see you look at, Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I think the decade after that, the 2030s, I say you look at
Josh Little, Phil Jackson.
There we go, baby.
Hey.
Phil Jackson, I like that.
I'm David Ross now.
What's up, Grandpa?
I would make Oh my God. You can't call me Grandpa. You can't call me Grandpa. You're 4 years old.
NDCP enrollment just put it out there.
I mean,
I'm just calling it like I see it.
I'm a good manager. I'm a good manager. I'm not taking Coach Cat's place though. He's got me.
So I say you Zion Williamson and Ja Morant, obviously your 2030s. I say you
definitely.
keep them for that. Yeah.
I think if we're gonna like pick someone now, if you want to put Giannis for 2020, I think that Ja Morant and Zion might start competing for that towards the end of the decade, like more so like 27, 28, 29, and then once you get like near 30, 2030, one of them is gonna overtake the other. DeFranza, Giannis, Kovac, Magic, Pritt, Khalil Mack, true.
Man, no one says it better than NDCP enrollment.
Hey, Josh, we have to come up with something for our TikTok video.
Whoa!
We're gonna be doing that.
That's when you know it gets real. I don't think Pat would agree. Oh, he would have something to say about that. Oh man, I hope he doesn't see that. Thank you, but I gotta tell you when George McCaskey when he came to the pep rally for Walkathon this year, I was praying like Khalil Mack was gonna pull up in his car and just run out of the field and just start hyping the whole place up. I would have gone nuts.
Yeah, I got a window open.
Well, Dan, I got to say, awesome first show.
This was a great first show. Thank you for everyone that tuned into this. I think we had, if I was right, we had 49. We had 49 total on the hour-long video, and then obviously cut out. This one, I think we were near 15. Some of them were rejoins, but this was really good.
Thank you guys.
The whole thing, and then the hour-long part will all be uploaded to YouTube. I don't know if we're going to have our faces on there or if it's just going to be like radio type. We'll figure that out because, we have had the comment section, but we also want to make sure like you can see us clearly and all that. So Josh and I will go through it later and make sure that everything's good. And then it'll be up maybe tonight or tomorrow in the morning. We'll figure it out. But also remember that our rebroadcasts continue. We have NU versus Carmel from this past season tomorrow, senior night. And then Friday we have the Berg Bonanza replay from this past year, which was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But yeah,
Awesome.
thanks to everyone who tuned. Thank you for everyone that tuned in tonight.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Jared Baffa over Labor.
Bafa's better than
Definitely.
Bird.
Yep. Yeah, thank you for everyone that came in. We've just been trying to we're turning it into the McNeil and Perkins show. Like, we're here to have some fun, share some laughs, we shared a couple stories. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We'll try to be back here. I think we said every other day.
We want to try and do like Tuesdays and Thursdays are our main days because we have our rebroadcasts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's Agno over Marbury.
There we go.
There we go. So we're going to try and do most Tuesdays and Thursdays. There might be a day maybe we don't get one done because our school stuff catches up to us. It's all Gavin Gutierrez over Chris Paul.
Better than CP3 all day.
So we're going to hope that we can do this every Tuesday and Thursday, and then we're going to try and maintain. We might switch the schedule up if we're not back in school by May 4th, I think. I don't know if we'll be back in May 1st because that's a Friday. I don't know if that makes any sense. But if we do get back May 4th, we're going to cut it off because then we'll have spring sports to cover. But after that, we'll figure it out. But after the end of the month, I mean, we'll see what happens with this. But
awesome.
this is to help
Great
everyone
show.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening.
Yes, thank you for everyone who tuned in.
We'll hopefully see you guys Thursday.
Kill 4 over Vince Carter.
Oh. Nobody says it better. Thank you, especially NDCP enrollment, for all those shout-outs for our basketball team and us. We hope you all have a great night. Go Dons, and
We'll see
let's
you in a
figure
couple
out
days.
Chicago sports ASAP. See ya.